The Starlight Lounge presents An Evening with the Progressive Box.
Old moon, yeah. That's Hugo, tickling the ivories. He just saved by bundling home and auto with Progressive. Gonna finally buy a ring for that gal of yours, Hugo? Send her my condolences. Hi-oh! This next one's for you two. There's a burglar in my heart. Thank you.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
Hello and welcome into week 3 of the NFL season, and we are back with the Prop It Like It's Hot podcast here, back for week 3, ready to deliver some of our best bets for the week that we use our own intuition as well as the successful prop bet tool using consistency that you can find here at BigGuyFantasySports.com. It is part of your VIP package at BigGuyFantasySports.com, and we are a member of the Full-Time Fantasy Podcast Network. So wherever you listen to your podcast, you can find us on multiple spots, but also be sure to check us out over there. As a quick reminder, we do have the article, the prop bet article that's posted on BigGuyFantasySports.com. You'll get my best bets, you'll get the system's best bets, and then you'll also get best bets from my co-host here, Bob Lung, on Twitter at Bob_Lung. So Bob, Saturday morning, up bright and early at 10 a.m. How are we doing?
Yeah, no, I'm not a morning person.
Hey, that's all right.
But I'm here. I got my fourth Diet Mountain Dew here of the day, so I'm getting there. I'm getting jacked up. It's a beautiful day here in Ohio, and it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And
prop bets are going well.
That's right.
Yeah. So this past week, I used the system at Thrive Fantasy. .com, and there is basically prop bet game. What's cool about it is, it has about 20 choices for each game, or 20 choices for just the Thursday night, Monday nights, but on the weekends, obviously, they have multiple games, multiple players. But so Thursday night game, I played, used the system, and took home first place and $500. So there we go. And if you go to Thrive Fantasy, if you haven't gotten to that game yet, but here's a good time to start. Go there, use the coupon code BGFS for Big Guy Fantasy Sports, of course, and when you deposit at least $10, you get $10. So there you go. You get an extra $10 on us, and that $10 you can come and just use that and buy and get the VIP access for $14.99 because you're going to use the coupon code PropBet. So it costs you $4. How about basically $4 you're going to spend to get into the fantasy or Thrive Fantasy and to get the VIP access because you're going to get your $10 back there. So, and then you can go and win some money like we're doing. So it's going good so far, and the tool certainly put some numbers out there. You kind of shake your head and go, really? Do I trust it? But you got to trust it sometimes. And now the injuries have certainly been a factor here with some of the easy unders, but I don't think that's what we're always going to predict every week. But yeah, so far so good. And like I said, winning at $500 on Thursday night was nice.
Absolutely. Go over to Thrive Fantasy. And the best thing about that is, I signed up, I entered. That's not the best thing about it, but I'm on there playing and just taking a look at this Sunday slate, looking at the contest. The nice thing is they have a bunch of props there, but you don't have to pick them all. So if you have a strong hunch of Patrick Mahomes over or under 2.5, passing touchdowns, go ahead and select that one. But if you don't feel great about like maybe DeAndre Hopkins and his 6.5 receptions or whatever, you don't have to pick that one. You don't have to pick all of them, so there's plenty of there that you can choose from. But the nice thing is go ahead and enter for a couple bucks. You can win $500, and then you could take that $500, put it on the Texans to win the Super Bowl, and that nets you $18,000. So that's always a nice thing to wake up to, come February
Disclaimer.
7th or whatever.
Disclaimer. The thoughts of some of the people in this podcast do not pertain to the other people in the podcast. You're welcome.
Yes, exactly. And you're not guaranteed to win $500, like Bob did, obviously. But like the contest I entered,
and you're not guaranteed to win $18,000.
Yep, and you're not guaranteed to win anything actually. So no guarantees here. We're just trying to help point you in the right direction. How about that? That seems like a pretty safe thing to say. But we're back here with the podcast. So again, we'll go over some of the things. Similar outlines to what we've done before. So kind of maybe determining helping the system go one way or another, which way we're leaning on certain players. We'll talk about the system's strong over and under bets of the week, and then we'll wrap it up with Bob's best bet and my best bets. But again, make sure you check out the article on BigGuyFantasySports.com, because not only do you get this best bet of the week that we're giving you here in the podcast, but typically there's a couple others that we don't really tend to mention on the podcast. So something a little added there for your VIP package subscription, which I'll go over a little bit later. But again, prop bet, $5 off takes it down to $14.99. So don't forget that. So here we go with the system. Taking a look at some of these lines that, it's pretty close, and the system's not really giving you too much one way or the other. So we'll have to use our intuition along with the system to go ahead to find, what we should be doing this week. But the first, we'll go with top tier running back Ezekiel Elliott. His line is at 90.5 rushing yards. The over hit, a perfect 56% of the time in a 9-game sample. So 5 out of 9 games, he's exceeded that mark. Obviously, this is I don't know if a great matchup even does this, this game justice. Right. So I think I know where I'm leaning here. However, I could be swayed either way, but I don't think I'm going to be swayed. I know where I'm going. So 90.5 rushing yards for Ezekiel Elliott. Where's your money going on this one, Mr. Lung?
This is a tough one because it's hard to tell when NFL teams get in these blowouts. You've got these different scenarios. The first game against the Dolphins, man, Harbaugh and that team just put the foot down on the pedal and just, they just went off. And they didn't slow down. I mean, they kept throwing the ball in the third and fourth quarters. They were trying to block punts. I mean, they were going all out to score points and putting up as many stats as they could. The New England game against Miami, they did put up numbers, and they won 43-0, which sounds huge. But you realize Tom Brady only threw for like 230 yards. So it wasn't like they put up a lot of big numbers. Sony Michel had 75 or 84 yards rushing, so he went over that game. Edelman didn't have that big of a game. Gordon didn't have that big a game. Even Antonio Brown, who caught a touchdown, was only 5 for 60 with a touchdown. So they didn't put the pedal down. So now we got the Cowboys and Zeke. What are they going to do? What if they only play him a half? Can he get 90 yards rushing a half? He certainly could. He could get 90 yards rushing in one play, especially as bad as the Dolphins are. So I'm really on the edge here. I'll be honest with you. I would probably pass on this bet just because I'm a little worried that they may pull guys out and not let them play in the second half if they're up, 35-0 by halftime. They may not be, they're certainly not as powerful offenses certainly as Baltimore has been, but they have put up some numbers and some digits. So I'm on the edge. I think I'm on the edge too. If I did anything, I just wouldn't bet this one. But if I had to pick, I'd probably pick the over because I think he will get 100 yards by halftime and it'll put him on the bench.
Yeah, I think so too. And I'm looking at it here. You take a look at the Dolphins. They're averaging, or on average, they're allowing 4.8 yards per carry. So you take that number, divide it into the 90.5 that we're looking at here for Zeke, assuming he stays at that mark, he's going to need at least 18 carries. Taking Zeke's talent, and that defense got a little worse with the trade of Minkah Fitzpatrick, who is a good tackler, coming out of the safety corner linebacker spot, wherever the heck they were playing him during his time there. So yeah, I think he's going to go over as well. Also, you consider it here against the Dolphins this season, also just because they're getting trashed and the teams are just running to wind down the clock at the end. An average of 40.5 rushing attempts per game against this Dolphins defense, and that's just a product of, again, blowing them out of the water, and there's no point to throw down the end. So I'm going to go over as well. But again, if I'm betting on this one, I'm not putting a lot of dollars or units on it. I'm just kind of veering away. This isn't one where I feel super confident either way because, again, it could go over or under, just being that weird game scenario. Also, similar numbers here. We have Joe Mixon. His line is nearly half of what Zeke's is, down at 47.5 rushing yards. 9-game sample. They over hit 55.6% of the time. So Joe Mixon, 47.5 rushing yards, and they are going up against the, let me pull this up here for you. I just got lost
Buffalo
here.
Bills.
Against Buffalo. So decent defense there. 47.5 rushing yards. Where are you going?
He's been kind of unhealthy here over the last couple of weeks. I'm going to take the under. I know it says over 56%, but that's an over with caution. I'm a little worried about that, about Joe Mixon and that offense, especially in Buffalo. Buffalo's got a pretty tough defense. They certainly have held, I think, Le'Veon Bell in check. Didn't give up a big game to him, at least in the rushing game. And so, I'm like I said, I'm a little bit. I'm thinking I'm going to take the under here.
Yeah, I think this one I might even avoid this one more. It's one of those where the line's a little too low to feel comfortable with it. But no, I know you're probably fading this one too. And a lot of these, it's kind of torn. But again, you make a great point there. He did practice. However, ankles are very finicky and it can go either way. So I would almost presume if you're going to feel confident betting the under in this one, you almost think Mixon's either going to be limited because of that ankle, or you're just worried that he could come out with an injury. Obviously, more often than not, over the course of a whole season, if you're going to give me Mixon 47.5 rushing yards, his talent alone will take him over that. However, a lot of concerns here. Also, Buffalo is just going to run. This clock might not stop the entire game, to be honest with you. So we'll have to see what Cincinnati can do with their times. I would, again, if I have to bet it, I'm going to go under as well, but I don't certainly feel confident in that bet. Moving to a different game, we'll go to Houston. We have DeAndre Hopkins, who, as we talked about on Thursday night in the Consistency podcast, he just lost his clutch game streak, so he's looking to start up a new streak. Certainly think he can do it. However, not looking at his receiving yards here, we're just going to look solely at receptions, and this one's interesting just because Hopkins nearly has about 152% of the team's targets, because it seems like he's the only one that they throw to with success, other than maybe Kenny Stills. Right. But 6.5 receptions in an 8-game sample, and this is on the road against what I believe the Chargers are classified as an average pass defense. His over for Hopkins has hit just 37.5% of the time. He will deal with Casey Hayward, likely in shadow coverage as well. So this line is really, really interesting. It is well below that 50% that we typically try to stay around here for this line, but I thought this was interesting, all things considered. So DeAndre Hopkins, 6.5 receptions against the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah, I mean, last week against Jacksonville, he struggled, didn't get 6.5. I'm probably going to go with the under here. I think that they're going to have to, for this offense to pick it up a notch as compared to last week. I think they've got to look elsewhere. And I know that DeAndre is the man, but they're going to have to look at other options, whether it's Duke Johnson, Will Fuller, who's the new guy, Kenny Stills, whoever that is, whoever they're going with. I think they're going to have to look elsewhere, and I think I'd probably take the under here, even though I think it'll be close. I think he might catch 6.
Yeah, I think he's going to be flirting with that. It's one of those things, too. No matter who is covering him, like even last week, like he was dealing with Jalen Ramsey all game, and he still got 10 targets. I mean, they're just going to throw him the football.
Oh, yeah, they will try.
Yeah, well, sometimes they have no other option. Until they can get Kenny Stills out there a little bit more, I certainly think that could continue. I want to pull this up here just because I'm curious. So Casey Hayward this season has allowed 5 receptions on 10 targets. So saying about 50%, meaning at 6.5 receptions, we're looking at, Hopkins might need about 12 targets to get there. He certainly can get that. However, when you look at the other corners, I think Deshaun Watson's smart enough at times that he's going to try to attack the other corners here. You look at Will Fuller's lines, I'd feel comfortable in going in the over on both of his lines just because he's going to see some extra targets. This Hopkins line is tough because I do believe he's going to go over that. I just don't know if I'm comfortable putting money on it. So I'm going to avoid this one as well, but I'm going to actually go against the system here and say it's going to be over, but it might take until late in that fourth quarter for him to get that 7th reception.
The other thing you got to remember too is that the Chargers team has given up a lot of yards on the ground. If you remember, the first game against Indy, Marlon Mack rushed for 170. Last week I think Carrion had a pretty good game as well. So Hyde could have a good game here and may not allow them to have to throw as much. We'll have to wait and see, but that's kind of why I was kind of hinting on the under. But certainly, with this team and with these players, it can change. So it's probably a tough bet. Might be one I'd probably avoid anyway, but we'll see.
Okay, well then since you brought that up here, let's ride Hyde in week 3, but Carlos Hyde, 58.5 rushing yards. I'm guessing you're confident in the over there then.
Well, I mean, back-to-back games, he's been, 80 and 90 yards rushing in those two games, I think. Certainly the player that I would like to, probably use and definitely go over 58.5, yes.
Yep, okay, I agree there as well. And then the last one we have here, this one's interesting too because the system is firmly on one side of this. However, it's what's likely to be a high-scoring matchup, and it's explosive offense. But Sammy Watkins, 5.5 receptions and 84.5 receiving yards. He hasn't surpassed either of those numbers in similar matchups in the past, likely due to the fact that he tends to get hurt every game he plays, and he's actually stayed rather healthy this season, although we're only 2 weeks in. So Sammy Watkins, 5.5 receptions and 84.5 receiving yards. I put both there, but you can go one way or the other. It's completely up to you. But Sammy Watkins, 5.5 receptions, 84.5 receiving yards.
This one's a tough one too because of the fact that you don't know what to expect with this team. After Watkins' huge week the first week, coming back, he didn't earn a clutch game in week 2. He had 10 points, so it wasn't terrible. But they threw to Demarcus Robinson and Mecole Hardman. So now we got this week. We're going against Baltimore. It's like you could say, well, Sammy didn't have his turn last week, so to go back to Sammy this week. So bet the over for both. I don't know about the receptions over. The receiving yards, definitely, because that's one play for them. 2 plays at worst. He gets two bombs. But, as much as, got to remember that most of the time Mahomes is not throwing a ton of passes per se. He's just very efficient with them and throws them deep. So I definitely I'd take the over for yards and the under for receptions.
I think I agree with you there. He's got the big playability, and I'm always, especially something like receptions, I'm always scared to play it with somebody like Watkins just due to his injury past, and got burned with it last week by Big Ben. So now I'm even more cautious about certain matchups. So yep, I think I'm going to agree with you there as well. So
plus the other thing on real quick, the other thing on the reception side is the 5.5. If you take the over, it's minus 150. So that's the other reason why I think I would stay away from I would take the under there, just because, if you win, you're still only winning about $5, out of your 10.
Yeah, absolutely. So the system says a strong over bet for the week, and there were a couple options here. I just have one listed. Maybe I'll throw a second one in, or we'll just save it for one of the system's best bets of the week that you can find in the article. But Zach Ertz, 70.5 receiving yards in 12 similar games in the past. The over has hit 83% of the time.
Wow.
So only thing with this that I will kind of play devil's advocate here is this season, the Detroit Lions have been okay, we'll say, against tight ends. So we're looking at it here. Actually, let me take that back. They've been really good against tight ends. However, they haven't faced one of Zach Ertz's pedigree yet. So that's the only thing that might be dragging him down in this matchup is a tough opponent. However, he's done it in the past, and he's done it with great consistency. So do you feel comfortable in the over with that as well?
I do, just because the 2 games that Detroit played was against Arizona, who doesn't have a tight end that we could probably name, and the Chargers without Hunter Henry, so I'm not sure who was playing tight end for them.
Yep.
So you got 2 teams that basically aren't even using their tight end. Heck, any team could have been great against those 2 teams. So I think it's a product of the offense that they were playing against, not a product of the defense. So I'm going to say that Ertz will hit the over for sure. Their running game isn't that strong. I mean, Howard and Miles Sanders and all these guys aren't doing much on the ground. They got to rely on Wentz. I think Ertz and Aguilar and all those guys will have pretty good games this week.
And then for an under for the week, this one's interesting, just given he's coming off a great week here. But Emmanuel Sanders, under 69.5 receiving yards, 7-game sample size in a similar matchup. The over is hit just 14.3% of the time. This Green Bay defense looks vastly improved. They look really good now. They also did get Mitch Trubisky week 1. However, I won't hold that against them just because they have looked really good. And when you look at the numbers, Green Bay, in terms of fantasy points allowed to opposing receivers, they're closer to the top. They were close to the top in 2018, However, in 2019, they are the 4th stingiest team against receivers. They've allowed just 17 grabs to receivers through the first 2 weeks of the season. So, Emmanuel Sanders under 69.5 yards. I'm all in on this one. The system's all in on this one. What about you?
This is a tough one because, again, while, you sit there and go, okay, well, their defense has been very stingy. Well, Emmanuel Sanders put up, 10 for 120 yards last week against the Bears? I mean, come on. That's pretty impressive. So, right now, him and Joe Flacco are just clicking like there's no tomorrow. I mean, it's just amazing, and I'm excited for it because obviously I drafted Sanders everywhere, so I'm all in. But this one's in Green Bay. The Denver game was in Denver. Bringing teams to the high altitude sometimes can have some effect, wear them down. They did get a lot of those yards in the fourth quarter last week. So I'm going to probably say I'll probably go with the under. I think Green Bay, being at home, will have a little bit better, scenario going on there defensively. So I think I will take the under. But like I said, it's a tough one because Denver's been clicking, especially Flacco and Sanders.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So what we'll do here, we'll go ahead. So, Bob, obviously, we'll have a couple best bets in the article that people can check out at BigGuyFantasySports.com with their VIP subscription. Remember, promo code PropBet for $5 off. But go ahead and give us one of your best bets of the week right here as a little teaser and an incentive to go ahead and get that VIP subscription so they can get more.
Gotcha. So I'm going to pick Aaron Rodgers, and this is amazing that it's at the spot, but there's actually, the over is the over passing touchdowns of one. It's only a minus 135, which isn't too bad. I mean, usually 115 is usually our spot, but 75% of the time he's hit the over. He hasn't had a great start to the season, that's for sure. But he's also played against the Bears in week 1 and the Vikings in week 2. Denver is not either one of those teams defensively. So I think he's going to have a good game. I would definitely go with him with the over passing touchdowns 1.5.
I like that one as well. That was one I was considering. And then once I knew that you were kind of looking there, we'll say I'll detour a little bit. And I'm actually going to go against my Texans here, but one of my favorite ones, and this is one that you can get on Thrive. So if you are over there, you can certainly look to play this one. I know I am, and it's actually a little bit of an underdog because you get more than 100 points with this selection. But Austin Eckler, 106.5 total yards, so rushing plus receiving. I'm taking the over on that one. The Houston run defense has looked less impressive this season compared to especially last year. And then once again, they continue to struggle with running backs who can catch the ball out of the backfield. So this year, a lot of 116 receiving yards. So you just roughly divide that by 2. You're looking at 55 a game. Divide the rushing yards by 2. 190 basically comes down to about 85. So we're already well over 100 combined yards for running backs per game out of the backfield. So Austin Eckler, pass catcher, has at least 6 targets in each of the first 2 weeks. He'll do just fine. I think he easily exceeds that 106.5 total yards mark, and you'll get a few extra points than if you took the under there on Thrive. So that's a Thrive specific one that I certainly like. And then you can go ahead and check out the prop bets tools. They're basically its best bets of the week. There's 3 listed in the article, maybe a 4th one coming. We'll have to see depending what the numbers spit out. But Bob, any parting shots for week 3 or any just last little tidbits of information that our fellow bettors should know?
The one thing that I was almost used for the one of the best bets, and we'll see. I'll put some of these in the article as well, but I'm really looking for a big rebound this week from the Tampa Bay offense. I mean, they've just started off pretty poorly, but they have the Giants at home this week. Giants defenses are just god-awful. So definitely look at the overs for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week, especially guys like Winston, Evans. Of course, Godwin's been doing great, so he's not a problem at all, but I'm expecting some rebounds here from some of the other guys. Maybe even O.J. Howard could get some catches. That would be nice. But yeah, I'm looking at a potential rebound there for those guys.
Absolutely. One other thing, too, check out a specific receiver in the Detroit-Philly game who should go over both receptions and yards. It's one of my best bets of the week. I'm not going to tell you about it now, but make sure you get your VIP subscription, and you'll be able to check it out there for sure, and it'll be listed there. But Bob, thanks again for joining me for another week. I know this isn't all about clutch games, but you're now 3 for 3, so you're 100% consistent, and I believe this makes you the first person in football with 3 clutch games in 2019, if I'm not mistaken.
It may be.
Hey, better than some other guys, and if you were a quarterback, you'd be one of about, 8 or 9 that are still perfectly consistent?
Yeah.
So
there's 9 and 6 out of those 9 weren't even drafted as QB1s.
And you certainly weren't drafted as a QB1, so that adds you to the list. But yeah, so with that VIP subscription, one more time here, just so you know, it is about a $26 value, but you can get it for $19.99. Promo code PropBet gets it for you down to $14.99. And basically, you can get the consistency guide, the clutch report, access to all the articles, obviously this PropBet tool and article, the consistently cashing tool, and I'm sorry, not the consistent cash tool, just the article there. That's where Ron Rigney and I go ahead and give you our FanDuel and DraftKings lineups for the week that you can play. So a lot of good information in that package, so go ahead and subscribe to that at BigGuyFantasySports.com. One more time, promo code PropBet for $5 off, but we will be back a week from today for week 4. Hopefully we'll be highlighting a successful betting week, and then we'll be back to give our week 4 bets, and we look forward to seeing you then. So stay consistent, use this prop bet tool, and if you're successful with it, shoot us messages on Twitter. I'm at Colby R. Conway, and Bob is Bob_Lung on the Twitter machine, so we look forward to talking to you there. And one more time, best of luck in week 3, and we will see you in week 4.
Hey, it's Jamie, Progressive number 1, number 2 employee. Leave a message at the... Hey, Jamie, it's me, Jamie. This is your daily pep talk. I know it's been rough going ever since people found out about your a cappella group, Mad Harmony, but you will bounce back. I mean, you're the guy always helping people find coverage options with the Name Your Price tool. It should be you giving me the pep talk. Now get out there, hit that high note, and take Mad Harmony all the way to nationals this year! Sorry, it's pitchy.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
The Starlight Lounge presents an evening with the Progressive Box.
Old moon, yeah. That's Hugo, tickling the ivories. He just saved by bundling home and auto with Progressive. Gonna finally buy a ring for that gal of yours, Hugo? Send her my condolences. Hi-oh! This next one's for you, too. There's a burglar in my heart. Thank you.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.